to tread this path, and they have a desire to purify the heart of the diseases of the heart, then the search for someone that will be able to help you, someone that will be able to guide you, someone that will be able to counsel you, someone that will be able to treat and remedy those internal diseases is going to be required. Just like a person who knows that I have some physical sickness, I have some disease, I need to get a checkup, what does a person do? First thing you do is you go and try to find a doctor. You go and try to find a physician that is going to remedy you of that. Similarly, on this path, once a person realizes that, wait a minute, I need to get somewhere, and I'm not going to be able to get somewhere unless I'm going to be with somebody who has already gotten there or knows how to get there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ar-Rahman fas'al bihi khabira. The Rahman, ask one who knows Rahman. If you want to know about Rahman, ask the one who knows Rahman. Ar-Rahmanu fas'al bihi khabira. So Imam al-Ghazali, rahmatullah alayhi, in the Ihya, he mentions, he said there are three ways of recognizing, three essential ways of recognizing the diseases of the heart and the ailments of the nafs. Just like we said that the body has physical diseases, you go to a doctor, the doctor x-ray, the doctor checks you and says, okay, you have blood sugar, you have cholesterol, you have heart disease, you have, by checking you, by doing MRI, by doing CAT scan, etc. Similarly, we recognize the diseases of the heart by a ruhani doctor, not a physical doctor, a ruhani doctor. Imam al-Ghazali mentions there's three ways of doing it. Number one is by having a friend that will guide you and tell you, brother, you shouldn't be doing this, or sister, you shouldn't be doing this. This is not right for you to do. I see you that you are smoking. This is very harmful for your health. Or I see you that you're going in this gathering. This is very harmful for you. You should not be going to this place. You should not be frequenting these gatherings, and so on. So, first thing that he mentions, means by which you recognize your own diseases, through another friend who is trustworthy, pious, and righteous friend. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, Al-mu'minu mir'atul mu'min. The believer is a mirror for another believer. The believer is a mirror for another believer. So you have a friend, and your friend is reminding you, hey, don't do that. Don't go there. You shouldn't, be with these type of people. You shouldn't do this type of thing. You shouldn't go to this gathering. That's number one. Number two is a critic, an enemy, who criticizes you and tells you your faults. That's another way of coming to know your internal problems, by your critics. Listen to your critics. Listen to the people who tell you your faults. For a lot of us, unfortunately, those people for us are our parents. A lot of us, we don't like our parents. And it's not good for you to not like your parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah's pleasure is in the pleasure of the parents. رضا الرب في رضا الوالد وسخط الرب في سخط الوالد. Some people, they don't like their parents because their parents tell them what they're doing wrong. That's exactly what Imam al-Ghazali is mentioning here. Listen to your critics. A lot of us don't like our parents. You know why we don't like our parents? Not because they're mean, because they tell us the truth and we don't like it. Isn't it true? What does our mom say? You know what? You're filthy. You don't clean up your room. Okay, I hate you. I hate you. Why? Because you tell me that I have to clean up my room and I'm filthy. Your room stinks, or your room is dirty, or do your homework, or do this, or get a job, or this, that, and the other. So therefore, we hate our mom. We hate our dad. Why? Because our mom and dad tells us exactly what we are. And our friends, they praise us for what we are not. Oh, you're really cool. You're not cool, really. Hey man, you're really cool. No, you're really not cool. But he just says that because he wants company. Right? Sins require company as well. So the guy knows if I tell this guy he's cool, he's going to hang out with me because I'm not cool. So two uncool people, we're just going to hang out together. But your parents don't tell you you're cool. Your parents tell you you're a fool. That's why you don't like them. So this is not good, that you should not like your parents. Imam al-Ghazali mentions that one of the ways of recognizing your faults, is through what? Is through the criticism of a friend. So number one, to have a friend of criticism of an enemy. Number one is having a friend that will guide you. Very few friends will guide you. That's a hard thing to find. Number two, a critic. Nobody listens to a critic. Very few people listen to a critic. Your parents criticize you and you don't like to listen to them. Your parents criticize you and you don't like to listen to them. So that's not going to work as well. But number three, you have somebody who is a qualified shaykh. Just like you have a doctor. A doctor, he's qualified, and a doctor guides you. A doctor tells you got this disease, that disease, this disease. You need to eat less oily food. You need to exercise more. You need to jog. You need to do this, that, and the other. People generally listen to a doctor because the doctor is qualified. So here, the Shaykh is going to be talking about in Hidayah number 3, the signs of a Shaykh Kamil, a qualified Shaykh. He says the Shaykh of Tariqah is a person who has extensive knowledge and experience in dealing with the spiritual ailments, amrad al-batina. So basically, he is like a spiritual doctor. And the evil qualities, akhlaq radila, and praiseworthy qualities, akhlaq hamida. In addition, he is well versed in their characteristics, khawas and effects, ta'thirat. Furthermore, he should be able to distinguish between the similarities present in different ailments and attributes. For example, he knows what are the qualities of pride. He knows what is jealousy. He knows how to cure that. He knows how to treat anger. People nowadays have anger problems. He knows how to treat anger problem. He knows how to treat a person who has arrogance. He knows how to treat a person who has, for example, addiction to pornography. He knows how to treat a person who has addiction to, for example, whatever. The Shaykh must have the skilled aptitude for formulating prescriptions and plans that will aid the Salik in acquiring the attributes of virtue and in eliminating the attributes of vice. He must also be perceptive towards the increase and decrease of these attributes that occur within the Salik. Just like a doctor, he sees the symptoms going up, symptoms going down, he should be able to recognize that. The Salik must also be well versed in the perils. The Shaykh must also be well versed in the perils of nafs and shaitan. What are the tricks of nafs and shaitan? He must also be familiar with the intuitive senses and feelings coming from Allah or the angels. He must be able to distinguish between various clairvoyant perceptions of kashf. Thus, it is imperative that the Shaykh of Tariqah must be a person who is proficient in this knowledge, a mujtahid in this field, and one who possesses a natural affinity towards this matter. If he has acquired the Tariqah through an independent study of books and lectures on tasawwuf or lectures online, then he will destroy the murid that he is attending to due to his inability to correctly diagnose the various states of the murid. Okay, let's skip to the explanation of this summary. Okay, number one, the person that we get guidance from, he should be, number one, possess the necessary knowledge of the deen. The Shaykh, he should have necessary knowledge of the deen that was acquired through formal academic pursuit or by sitting in the company of the muhaqqiqeen, thoughtful, investigative ulama. So don't go to a person who doesn't have knowledge. Don't go to a person who is an online shaykh, right? Don't go to a person who's just a random, unqualified, has not studied, right? It's very important that a person must have necessary knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah. Number two, he must be a Khalifa, deputy of a Shaykh Kamil, and belonging to an authentic silsila. What does this mean? Deputy, Shaykh Kamil. Basically, he has to have been the student of somebody. Because if you're not the student of somebody, how are you going to become the teacher of somebody? First, you have to be a student, then you can become a teacher. And only that student is acceptable, which the teacher has said that this is a qualified student. Now he can teach other people. This is the meaning. And he has to belong to an authentic silsila. And what do we mean by silsila? An authentic methodology, which is not those methodologies that, for example, you have those people that are dancing, people that are doing jumping up and down, and they're calling themselves, we are people of tazkiyah, we are people of tasawwuf. Tasawwuf is a science of purification of the heart. This is a science of Islam. It has nothing to do with jumping up and down or dancing or drinking tea, singing and holding hands and singing kumbaya. That has nothing to do with tasawwuf. So it has to be an authentic methodology which is based in Quran and Sunnah that deals with the purification of the heart. Number 3, the person should be pious and upright. The person should be pious and upright. You have certain quote-unquote shaykhs, they call themselves shaykhs, and you have this common in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and other places of the world. People call themselves shaykhs, right? They don't even pray. And if you ask them, Shaykh, you're not even praying. Quiet. Gustakhi mat kar. Don't dare question my authority. Why? I pray my Fajr Salat in Makkah Mukarramah and I pray my Maghrib in Madinah Munawwara. What do you know? These type of thing. Jali. We call them Jali Peers. You guys heard of Jali Peers? Jali Peer, very dangerous. My Shaykh Rahmatullah alayhi says, Jali Peer, there's a poem about Jali Peer. All they're concerned about is that they wear specific garbs in certain places of the world. This is the way that people make money. They make themselves a sheikh. They wear a big, prayer beads around their neck. They have long hair. And they act like they're very, very pious. And they sit like in a big place like I'm sitting. And, main thing is they give prayers on people. They blow on people. They give people taweez. They bless people. They have a magic wand. They bless you, and automatically all your problems get solved. They give you these pieces of paper that if you hang it, then you're going to have money, a lot of money in your business. They're like fortune tellers, right? So my Shaykh said about them that these people are just about money. These people, they say, Agar zere baghal murgi na laya, barabar hai ki tu aya na aya. Agar zere baghal murgi na laya, barabar hai ki tu aya na aya. These people, if you don't bring them a chicken under your arm, then it's the same as if you never even came. Bring me something. What did you bring? What is your offering? What is your offering? They said, oh, Shaykh, I brought you a chicken, or I brought you a goat, or I brought you a this, that, and the other. I said, yes, you did very good. This is the way people make money. This is the way people make money in certain places. So you have to see, is this person practicing himself? Does this person even pray? Some of these shaykhs, they don't even pray. They don't even worship. They don't even have any concern about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their main concern is how they can lead people astray. We should be very, very careful. You should see, is this person pious? Is this person upright? Is this person making amal upon Shariat and Sunnat himself? Number 4, he should have derived spiritual benefit by remaining in the company of his shaykh for an ample period of time. If he wasn't a student, how is he going to be a teacher? Valid companionship will be through either correspondence or by being physically present in the company of the shaykh. How is a person going to be a doctor if he never did his residency? A person only becomes a doctor when he has a certificate from a valid medical university and he has done a residency. If there's a person, he calls himself a shaykh, he never even did a residency. He calls himself a shaykh and he's never been under another shaykh. How is that person going to be guiding other people? Number 5, he should be held in high esteem by the people of knowledge, and they should refer to him in matters of tasawwuf. In other words, other doctors, other people in the field of knowledge should recognize him. That yes, this person is qualified. Yes, this person is a spiritual doctor. If other people don't even know who he is, oh, Shaykh so-and-so. Who? I never heard of him. You should be able to ask the scholars, and the scholars should know that person. Otherwise, if the people of the field don't recognize him and know him, if he has no recognition, he is not acceptable. Number 6, his companionship, suhbat, should have the effect of increasing the love of Allah Ta'ala and a desire for the hereafter, as well as increasing people's abhorrence for the dunya. When you sit in the company of a shaykh, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, when they would sit in the company of the Prophet, Hanzala radiallahu anhu says, he says, when, oh, nafaqa Hanzala. Hanzala became munafiq. Abu Bakr Siddiq asked, oh Hanzala, why do you say this? So look at what Hanzala radiallahu anhu said. He says, when I'm sitting with the Prophet, then Jannat and Jahannam is before my eyes. Jannat and Jahannam is right before my eyes. And I have a sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is before me. And I have this fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then when I go to my family, then I forget about these things. Subhanallah. That is the sign that you are in the company of a true shaykh. Just like the sign of the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was that when the Sahaba would sit in his company, they would feel that they are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They would feel and they would sense Jannat and Jahannam is just before their sight, just before their eyes. This is the quality of Shaykh Kamil, that when you sit in his company, you feel that. And you have a increase of abhorrence. You don't want to, you want to leave everything and you want to, dedicate your life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the correct thing to do. That is the correct shaykh. That when you sit in his company, then you want to dedicate your life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is another sign. Number 7, a majority of his murids and students should adhere to the Sharia. The condition of their lives should be in compliance with the Sharia. That when you look at the students of somebody who is a shaykh, his students should be people whose lives are according to Quran and Sunnah. It's not people who don't care anything about prayer and they're just, smoking weed all the time. Certain people, they, connected with certain shaykhs, they like to smoke weed all the time. A'udhu billah. If most of his students are dope heads, then that's not the sign of a Shaykh Kamil, right? That's a Shaykh of something else. That's a Shaykh Jahil, not a Shaykh Kamil. So when you look at his students, the students should be people that are, their lives should be in accordance with the Sharia. Number 8, he should be free of greed and desire for worldly gain and benefits. He shouldn't be concerned with making money from people. He shouldn't be concerned with making money from people. His concern should be only to do something and to help people for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 9, he should engage in dhikr and ibadah. He himself should be a person who is concerned about pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He himself should be concerned with the zikr and ibadah. Our Shaykh, when he talked about Shah Abdul Ghani Phulpuri rahmatullah alayhi, Shah Abdul Ghani was one of the khulafa of Hakim al-Ummah, one of the ajal khulafa of Hakim al-Ummah. And he mentioned that Shah Abdul Ghani would wake up 3 in the morning. That is when his ibadat would begin. And he would read 3-4 paras of the Quran. 1 manzil of the Quran daily he would read. The entire munajat maqbool. Qasida burda. Entire munajat maqbool. 1 manzil of Quran. Tahajjud, Ishraq, Chasht. All of this. His ibadat, he had 8 gante ibadat karte the Hazrat Shah Abdul Ghani rahmatullah alayh. And Hazrat says that I was 18, 19 years old. He said my Shaykh would wake up 2-3 in the morning for tahajjud. He would perform tahajjud. He would read 1 manzil of the Quran. 1 manzil is like 4 paras, 4 or 5 paras of the Quran. Entire munajat maqbool, zabani. Entire Qasdus Sabil, 12 tasbih, 1000 times la ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah, istighfar, durood sharif. He would perform ishraq, chasht, and he would have breakfast only around 11:30, 12 o'clock. 12 baje nashta karte the Hazrat. And he said, he said, for 17 years, Hazrat mentioned, My Shaykh, he said, for 17 years I was in the company of Shah Abdul Ghani, and this was his ma'mul. For 17 years. Satra Sal, Hazrat said that in his company, this is what I seen. 8 hours of ibadat he would make daily, starting 3 in the morning and ending around before noon, 11, 12 o'clock. And he says, Hazrat's family would say, take some nashta and have breakfast from the house. He says, no, how can I make nashta when my Shaykh has not made nashta? How can I have breakfast when my Shaykh hasn't had breakfast? Imagine that. He said, I spent 17 years in the company of my Shaykh like this. So the Shaykh should be somebody who would engage in dhikr and ibadah. The Sahaba Kiram saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam make so much ibadah until his Mubarak feet would become swollen. And Hazrat Aisha said, Ya Rasulullah, how come you're making so much worship when Allah has forgiven all of your sins? How are you making so much worship when Allah has forgiven all of your sins? Hazrat Aisha used to see the ibadat of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what did the Sayyidina Rasulullah mention? He said, أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Should not I be a grateful slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Imagine. The Sahaba Kiram, they saw the zikr and ibadat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Shaykh should be somebody who himself is engaged in zikr and ibadat. Number 10, he should not leave his murids free and unchecked. His students should not be left free to do whatever they feel like doing. Rather, he should reprimand them when the need arises, and he should treat everyone according to their capabilities. Right? A doctor, he's not just any doctor. He's a doctor that cares about you. If you have cholesterol, if you have diabetes, he should be telling you, hey, you shouldn't be eating that sugar. You shouldn't be eating that fatty food. You should be exercising. How come you're not exercising? So once you have found a Shaykh with these qualities, then do not be concerned about whether or not he has demonstrated any miracles. Some people, they want to see, oh, this Shaykh, does he have any miracles? Does he walk on water? Does he fly in the air? Do not be concerned about whether he knows any mysteries or future events. Do not look to see if his du'as are readily accepted, nor should you try to evaluate whether he is able to perform any supernatural feats by means of his spiritual strength. These things are not required for a Shaykh Kamil. Similarly, do not be concerned about his ability to influence and direct others using his tawajjuh, inner spiritual attention. Tawajjuh is not a requisite for piety. This type of spiritual influence is related to the nafs, and with practice, its effects can become apparent. In fact, even evil people such as non-Muslims, such as yogis, monks, ascetics, are able to demonstrate such seemingly supernatural feats. You have Buddhist monks. You have Buddhist monks that can do very, you put a blindfold and you give them a bow and arrow and you spin them around and he'll face the bullseye and he'll shoot and he'll go right inside the bullseye. Right? They can do things. Put a blindfold and he can walk on wire, or he can like sleep on coals or whatever. They do all these various different types of things that they gain power through meditation. That's not something special. That is mind control. That has nothing to do with hidayat. The true sign of a Shaykh Kamil is ittibai Shariat, ittibai Quran and Sunnah, Kamilan. That is the reality of a Shaykh Kamil. The benefit of tawajjuh is not great because it is temporary in nature. Its effect is not lasting. The benefit of tawajjuh is that a murid's heart might be unaffected by dhikr, but by the means of the Shaykh having tawajjuh on the murid for a few days, the murid's heart becomes receptive to the effects of dhikr. So this is something which, this was something that in the olden days, people used to look for the Shaykh giving tawajjuh. Meaning that if he gives you his, like the spiritual glance or spiritual attention, then this will increase your desire. You shouldn't be looking for that. You shouldn't be thinking that automatically, when I'm going to be connected to the Shaykh, then I'm going to automatically, start doing things. I'm going to automatically start praying. I'm going to automatically start floating on water or whatever. You don't need a Shaykh for that. You can have like a, life preserver and you automatically float on water. Don't need Shaykh. Fourth hidayah. This is very, very important. The objective of a murid. What should be our objective on this path? Like I mentioned in the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your objective. Hazrat Khwaja Aziz al-Hasan Majzoob rahmatullah alayhi, what does he say? जब तू मेरा तो सब मेरा फलक मेरा ज़मीन मेरी और अगर एक तू नहीं मेरा तो कोई शे नहीं मेरी. Oh Allah, when you are mine, then everything is mine. The heavens are mine, the earth is mine. And oh Allah, when you are not mine, then nothing in this world is mine. Allah should be your objective. And when Allah is your objective, you have everything. And if Allah is not your objective, then if you have everything, then you have nothing. You understand? So to sum it all up, your objective and the objective of the murid is Allah Ta'ala's rida. Once you have found a Shaykh Kamil and you intend to become his murid, his student, his patient, then first understand the aim and the objective of becoming a murid. People entertain various motives when becoming a murid. Some desire to acquire the ability to perform karamat, miracles, or becoming recipient of kashf. I want to perform miracles, right? I want to walk on water. I want to fly in the air, right? I want to look at somebody and make them fall unconscious. I want to give him the glance that when I stare at him, he just starts falling apart. Why do you want to do that? It has already been explained. You know, you guys are laughing, but there's something called Wicca. Has anybody heard of Wicca? A lot of you haven't heard of Wicca. If you go to a bookstore, there's a section next to the religious section. It's called Wicca. W-I-C-C-A. It is the way of harnessing demons, Satan worship, the satanic Bible. This is becoming very, very famous. Anybody heard of Marilyn Manson? Creepy guy. He is a follower of the satanic church, right? He is a singer, heavy metal, Anthrax and Marilyn Manson and all these type of things. And they're really into having power and mind control of people. And in their music, they have subliminal messages. And they follow Wicca. Wicca is a religion that has to do with black magic, jadoo. Jadoo and black magic. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in Surah Baqarah. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانَ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. And Allah ta'ala mentions بِمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ, that these two angels were sent by Allah as a test upon mankind. The name of the two angels was Harut and Marut. They were sent to Babylon. I picked up a book on Wicca. I was interested in seeing what these people talk about. I picked up a book on Wicca, and it was called The Book of Demons. What is it called? The Book of Demons. And I opened up to one page, and it said ancient Babylonian. Ancient what? Ancient Babylonian demons. That when you recite their names, the demon will be summoned. And the demon will come to you, and the demon will tell you, what would you like me to do for you? This is very popular. Marilyn Manson does this. Many, Madonna, Marilyn Manson, Anthrax, and some of these other, Lil Wayne even, these rappers, a lot of them are into this Satan worship, satanic worship. Why? Because they summon demons and they put the names of these demons inside of their songs, and when people listen to it, they become mesmerized and they don't know that they're listening to kufr. Be very, very aware of these things. They have it in their albums, they have it in their songs, they have it in some of their clothings and these type of things. And the whole purpose is controlling the mind of people, making people buy their albums, having power, control, all these various different types of things. This is there. And all of this goes back to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ. When I opened that and I saw ancient Babylonian, Allahu Akbar, that is exactly what Allah mentions in the Quran. In Babylonia is in Iraq, where magic shayateen were based. And a lot of these, and what they do, they call the names of these shayateen. And they're doing, and they're following this so that they can get certain powers and control the mind of people and control this and control that. This is very, very dangerous. This is not the path of deen. This is not the path of tasawwuf. This is not the path of purification of the heart. This is not the path of shariat and sunnah. This is the path of shayateen. And those people that are trying to tread that path, that is a very dangerous path. So we don't need to look for those things, because a lot of people are interested in the science of Wicca or Wicca religion. And Wicca religion is basically based upon, right, these type of miracles, mind control, power, and harnessing demons and jinnat and shayateen. And this is not something which is a right path. And the power that Allah will give you through taqwa, the power that Allah will give you with taqwa is unimaginable. And it is not compared to the power and these parlor tricks that are done by the shayateen, the evil that is done by these shayateen. When a person becomes muttaqi, ittaqu firasat al-mu'min فَإِنَّهُ يَنظُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ. Nabi Kareem ﷺ says, watch out for the eye of the believer, because that believer and that muttaqi and that pious person sees with the light of Allah. Allah will show him things that normal people cannot see. Allah will reveal to him those things that will protect him from all of those things that will harm him. Allah will guide him. Allah will inspire him. Allah will protect him. When he asks Allah, Allah will grant him. And if he seeks refuge, Allah will grant him refuge and protection. This is something greater than the dark power that these Satan worshippers have. So be very aware of that. Don't be in the company of a shaykh to acquire these miracles or, harnessing things. Therefore, it is a grievous error to rely on miracles for the attainment of spiritual and moral reformation. There are also those that desire to be absorbed in spiritual ecstasy and bliss, floating through mystical realms. You guys know about airy fairy? People love airy fairy. I was at a coffee shop and some lady saw me, old lady. She was maybe in about her 50s or 60s. So she comes up to me. She says, "This is very interesting clothing you're wearing. So what are you? What faith do you follow?" I said, "I'm Muslim." So, "Oh, that's so interesting." I said, "Oh, so what religion are you?" She said, "I'm a Sufi." I said, I was a little bit confused because she asked me what religion I am. I said, "Muslim." And then I asked her, "What religion are you?" And she said, "I'm Sufi." I said, "Wow, that's the first time I heard somebody mentioning Sufi as a religion." So I said, "So you're Muslim?" He said, "No, I'm not Muslim, but I'm Sufi." I said, "How can you be Sufi now?" So he said, "I just love the experience. I just love the experience. I love Rumi. I love Rumi." I said, Rumi was a Muslim, right? I said, Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, he was a Hanafi Mufti. He wasn't like a 1970s hippie. They've turned Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi to a dancing hippie. I said, Hazrat Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, he was a Qadi. He was Qadi al-Qudat. Well, Qadi al-Qudat, he was a Hanafi Mufti, Faqih, Muhaddis. He had hundreds, thousands of students. He was a Muhaddis, he was a Faqih, he was a Mufti. And then he became student of Shamsuddin Tabrizi, rahmatullah alayh. Now you made him a hippie? I love Rumi. I said, yeah, Rumi was a Mufti. He was a Muslim. So we had a long conversation. But these people are running after spiritual ecstasy. They want to feel good. I want to get an out-of-body experience. I want to go out of mind, out-of-body experience. I want to get a spiritual ecstasy. I said, man, you just need to smoke weed for that. You don't need to be a Sufi. You want out of body experience? Just do some ecstasy. A'udhu billah. Brothers and sisters, this is not the purpose. Out of body experience. You want out of body experience? Go bungee jumping. You, you don't need you don't need tasawwuf for that. Tasawwuf is Shariat and Sunnat with the ishq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shariat and Sunnat with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't need out of body experience. You can do bungee jumping for that. Subhanallah. They desire the automatic elimination of sinful desires and the total expulsion of any thoughts of sins that occur in the heart and mind. No bad thought should come to my mind. Automatic expulsion of any bad thoughts that come to me. They desire a condition in which there is no need for even forming an intention to do virtuous deeds, because they believe that these deeds will become second nature. When I connect myself to my Shaykh, automatically my eyes open up for tahajjud. Automatically I start performing miracles. That's not what happens. Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi rahmatullahi said, Andarin ra me tarasho me kharash, ta dame akhir dame farig mabash. Andarin ra me tarasho me kharash. Hazrat Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi says that on this path, me tarasho me kharash, you have to cut yourself and rip yourself on this path. It is a path of struggle. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those that struggle in my path, I will guide them. You can't just automatically connect yourself to the Shaykh and your eyes open for salat. No, you have to make mujahada. Andarin rah me tarashu me kharash. You have to tarash and kharash yourself. You have to rip and struggle yourself on this path to attain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those that struggle in the path of Allah, Allah grants them hidayat. And if you do not have struggle and mujahada and strive in Allah's path, Allah will not grant you guidance. People consider these motives to be meritorious. However, they are considered as such due to a lack of understanding. The conditions mentioned here are called halat, and their attainment are not within the power or control of man. Although halat are excellent states, nevertheless, they are not the aim and objective of the murid. These halat, these are not your objective. Your objective is fulfilling the Quran and Sunnah, doing what you need to do, doing the requirements of what Shariat has asked you to do. This is what is suluk. Suluk doesn't mean doing things that is not within your control. Out of body experience, miracles, seeing things, experiencing things. This is not within your control. The maqsad can only be something whose attainment is within one's ability to acquire. The purpose of this path is something which you are able to do, not something which you're not able to do. Let me ask everybody a question. Seeing dreams, is this within your ability or not within your ability? Some people can control their dreams actually, but that's not the norm. That's not the norm. But what is the general norm? It's not within your control. When a person, he goes to sleep and he sees the Prophet ﷺ in his dream, he feels very happy. Did he do that? He didn't do anything. Allah put the Prophet ﷺ in the dream. So that thing which is not within your control cannot be the objective. You understand? So people feel sad or people feel bad. You know, I've been making dhikr and I've been pious for such a long time. I have not seen the Prophet in my dream. Well, the Prophet does not come in your dream through making effort. The Prophet ﷺ comes in your dream by the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet comes in your dream by the blessing, and it's a ni'mah, and it's a bounty that is bestowed upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not something that you can acquire. So the objective on the path to Allah is not something which is not within your ability. Your objective is something which is within your ability. The various motives and the maqsad and the desire is nothing other than the pleasure of Allah, yani seeking the pleasure of Allah. The various motives and desires that have been mentioned earlier arise within the murid, the student, the spiritual aspirant, as a subtle trick of the nafs. The nafs tries to tell you, oh, you should try to get this, and you should try to get that, and you should try to see Allah in your dream, and you should try to feel airy-fairy, and you should try to get miracles, and you should try to start walking on water, and you should have, jinns under your control. Okay, jinn number 1, go attack him. Jinn number 2, attack him. Trying to get jinns under your control. Now I'm very pious. See, I made 1,000 zikrs, now I have jinns under my control. This is a trick of the nafs. This is not the purpose of this path. The nafs desires ease, pleasure, and personal glory. What does the nafs want? He just wants glory. It just wants pleasure. Just wants ease. The desires of the nafs are filled through these ecstatic states. The one who is seeking the pleasure of Allah does not concern himself with the acquisition of these states, because they are neither the aim nor the goal of his effort and struggle. Someone who yearns for these non-volitional states will be prone to one of two harms. This is very important. Listen very closely. Listen to this very closely. The one who wants to get these non-volitional, non-controllable, will be prone to one of two harms. So you want to get miracles. You want to walk on water. You want to fly in the air. So the person who is seeking these things, he will be affected by one of two harms. Number 1, he will either achieve these states or fail to achieve them. What is it? Everybody, either he will achieve it or he won't achieve it. Either you start seeing dreams and walking on water, or you don't walk on water. Understand? So what happens? If he succeeds in attaining them, if he starts walking on water, then what happens? He will erroneously believe that he has reached his goal. Oh, I'm walking on water now. I don't need to pray. I'm flying in the sky now. I don't need to pray. I got jinns under my control. I don't need to pray. I'm the man. You see, I'm a holy man. I can do this. I can do that. I can cure people. I touched this person and I cured him. See, I've reached my destination. He will equate these states of ecstasy with suluk itself by thinking that these are the objectives of the spiritual journey. He will think that he has attained perfection and excellence. We said the path to perfection. The path to perfection is not gaining miracles. The path to perfection is seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and staying constant on the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, his efforts will terminate. He'll say, I don't need to make dhikr anymore. I don't need to pray anymore. Why? Because I'm curing people now. I'm walking on water now. Man, don't you know I see the Prophet in my dream every night? Back in the day, there was a sister who came to my wife. I want to tell you all this so you understand. My wife told me that this woman, she would not wear hijab and she would wear mini skirt. May Allah Ta'ala guide us. We don't judge anybody. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala knows who's on the right path and who's on the wrong path. But for a Muslim woman to be wearing a mini skirt with her chest open and made up fully, and then what did she say to my wife? I don't need to wear hijab. Look at her reasoning. I love Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And I don't need to wear hijab to prove that I love Allah Ta'ala. You following me? You probably heard that a lot. Hijab is in my heart. Hijab is in my heart. Everybody heard that. So then listen to what she said. She says that I see the Prophet in my dream every night. I see Allah in my dream. I see Jannat in my dream. I see the Prophet in my dream. So I don't need to wear hijab. Does everybody understand what's happening here? Because she thinks that she's seen the Prophet in her dream, or that she's seen that she is in Jannah, she thinks that I have achieved my objective. That's it. I'm there. I don't need to pray anymore. Why? Because I see the Allah in my dream. I see Jannat. But in reality, we have to understand is Allah going to judge us based on our dreams or based on our actions? On what? إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Those people that believe and they do good deeds. Not those people who believe and they dream good deeds. Allah is not going to judge you based on your dreams. Allah is going to judge you on your actions. And that is why we should not give any attention or tawajjuh to these dreams. The dreams are mahmood, they are not maqsood. Hakim al-Ummat rahmatullah alayhi says that these halat and these kayfiyat and these dreams, they are mahmood and they are not maqsood. Mahmood means praiseworthy. Maqsood means the objective. If you see a good dream, that's good. But it is not your objective. If you happen to perform a miracle, that's wonderful. But they are not your objective. If you happen to, your eyes wake up for tahajjud in the middle of the night, that's good. But that is not your objective. And when you start feeling these things, his efforts will terminate and he will become neglectful of his ibadat and piety. He will not consider ibadah to be essential requirement of the path. Even if he does not completely refrain from ibadah, he will at the very least consider it to be insignificant. I don't need to pray anymore. मैं पहुंचा हुआ आदमी हूं. I'm पहुंचा हुआ आदमी. पहुंचा हुआ आदमी, I've reached. हाँ, पहुंचे हुए हो जहन्नम में. Hazrat said, पहुंचे हुए हो जहन्नम में, जन्नत में नहीं. Allah tak nahi. Not to Allah, you're reached. Yes, I'm a person who has reached. Yeah, you haven't reached Allah, you've reached Jahannam. By not praying, by not fasting, by not caring about what Allah has commanded you, no. On the other hand, if he fails to reach these spiritual states of ecstasy, remember what we said? A person either reaches it or he doesn't reach it. If he reaches it, he starts becoming arrogant and thinks that he doesn't need to do anything anymore. And number two, if he doesn't reach it, then what happens to him? If he doesn't reach it, then he will weaken due to frustration and despondency. I'm worthless. I'm nalaik. Hazrat, I've been making zikr for so many years and I still did not see a dream. I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and I'm bilkul nalaik, I'm worthless. He will weaken due to frustration and despondency. Whoever aspires for a goal that is beyond his ability to achieve will suffer from frustration and dejection. Highlight this sentence. This is very important. Whoever aspires for a goal that is beyond his ability to achieve. Whoever aspires for a goal that is beyond his ability to achieve will suffer from frustration and dejection. Meaning you're aspiring for something which is impossible for you. Then what will you do? You will always suffer from frustration because you'll never get to your destination. Some people became murids and students thinking that the Shaykh is master of making taweez, talismans and other metaphysical remedies. Their motive is to acquire the benefits of these metaphysical remedies. That I'm going to connect myself to the Shaykh. Shaykh is going to teach me how to make taweez and I'm going to start controlling jinns. I'm going to send my jinns after you. This is very similar to the Wicca that I told you, right? Trying to gain powers. I'm going to connect myself to the Shaykh because the Shaykh got special powers. He's going to teach me too. That's more like the satanic church. That's not Islamic. Except for Ruqya Shar'iyya, right? Ruqya Shar'iyya is learning how to treat people for spiritual sicknesses. That's a different issue. That is proper. There are also those who view the Shaykh as a saint, wali, whose du'as are readily accepted. They have the mentality that they need his du'as in order to win court cases or achieve other forms of worldly success. They regard the Shaykh as an independent dispenser of worldly affairs. In this way, they confer divine attributes to the Shaykh. So why they become connected to the Shaykh? In the olden days, in Mughal times, the Shahs, the Shahan of the Mughal Empire, These people, Sultan Aurangzeb and Akbar and Babur and all of these great kings, they used to go to the gatherings of the peers and the mashayikh. Why? Because they wanted power in their hukumat. They had aqidat that if I go to this buzurg and if I have his dua, I will not be defeated in battle. Akbar, Aurangzeb, Shah Jahan, all these great Mughal, you see that they have a lot of respect for the peers, a lot of respect for Buzurgan Deen, a lot of respect for Buzurgan Deen, right? Hazrat Nizamuddin Awliya, one of his murids was Amir Khusraw Dehlawi. He was a prince. Hazrat Nizamuddin Awliya was a very great Shaykh. His murid was Amir Khusraw. Who was Amir Khusraw? He was one of the royalty. They had a lot of aqidat because they believed that if we connect ourselves to the Shaykh, we will be successful in our hukumat. We will not find shakast in our battles. We will not be defeated. So they would connect themselves, which is not wrong. In totality, it's not wrong. We should get the du'as of the pious people. Don't get me wrong. But not only for that intention, that you are connected with a buzurg, but you're not trying to be pious yourself. You're getting the du'as of a buzurg for your business, but you're not getting the dua of the buzurg for your akhirat. You're not getting the dua of the buzurg so that you become pious. In this way, they confer divine attributes to the Shaykh. And they used to give big money to the Shaykh. They used to build khanqah for the Shaykh. They would build big masajid for the mashayikh because they loved them. And they wanted that, through this connection, they get worldly benefits. Some people aspire to attain such holiness wherein their breath and touch will possess miraculous powers of healing. That if I blow on you, then you're going to be healed. There's a lot of Christians that have this. You guys know the evangelicals? You guys heard about evangelicals? They have their church. Come here, my son. You're healed by the will of God. He's slapping people on the head, and the guy is like, walk to me. The guy's like coming out of the wheelchair. This stuff is real. We're talking about this. This is really what people are searching for. They want powers. They want the ability to heal people. And people fall for that. And many of those people in the wheelchair, they're actors. They got like a hand in it. He said, look, you get a piece of the pie if you sit in the wheelchair, and then we have Betty. Betty, how many years have you been in that wheelchair? 30 years. Betty's going to walk. Today, Betty is going to walk. Crazy. You guys heard about this stuff? This is khanqahs. Today in America, we have this Jali khanqahs, Jali peers. Today in America, it's happening. Educated people, Americans who speak English, who are educated, working class people, but they're falling for this garbage. You probably, I'm reading this, Maulana Tameem mentioned this in the 1940s and 30s. No, this is still happening in the 21st century in America. They want these holy powers. And these people, unfortunately, labor under the misconception that these types of powers constitute piety. These powers don't constitute piety, because even non-Muslim people, they have these type of things, and they're touching people, and they dwell in error compounded upon error. This is jahl murakkab, error upon error. Some are driven by the motivation that by engaging in dhikr, they will have visions, wherein they will behold celestial lights and sounds. This erroneous idea is based on a lack of understanding. Celestial lights, visions, and sounds are neither necessary outcomes nor the objectives behind dhikr and shaghl. In fact, sometimes these lights, visions, and sounds are imaginary and are not actual revelations of the unseen spiritual realms. However, even if these visions and sounds happen to be true manifestations of the unseen realms, there is still no benefit in them. In other words, people are trying to do dhikr, connect themselves to a shaykh in order for them to see things. Again, all of these things are unnecessary. One does not gain any proximity and closeness to Allah by witnessing such manifestations. Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi also said, if seeing the unseen is something which is kamal, then a cat and a dog can hear the azab-e-qabr. The cats and the dogs and the animals and everything besides ins and jinn can hear azab-e-qabr. So that means you should become bayat to Billi Sahib. You should make Hazrat Billi, the cat, should become your shaykh, because the cat can hear the things of the unseen. The cats and dogs can see the cats and dogs can see jinn. The cats and dogs can perceive the punishment of the grave. So that means that this dog and this cat also is the status of shaykh. A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. Seeing of the unseen is not a sign of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, the only sign of closeness to Allah is إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Those people who say Allah is our Lord and they have istiqamat upon the obedience of Allah. أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ. The awliya of Allah, who are they? Right? أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. The friends of Allah, they have no fear and they shall not grieve. Who are they? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. They are people who believe in Allah and they had taqwa. They feared Allah, they obey Allah, they stay away from sins. ظَاهِرًا وَبَاطِنًا. These are the people. إِنْ أَوْلِيَاؤُهُ إِلَّا الْمُتَّقُونَ. Allah has no friends except those who stay away from sins and abstain from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is true nearness to Allah. Nearness to Allah is the product of ibadah and obedience. Even the shayateen sometimes see the malaika, but in spite of these sights, shaitan remains shaitan. Shaitan see the malaika, but shaitan remains shaitan. It is also a known fact that after death, the disbelievers will also know, see and realize numerous things from the unseen realms. The kuffar will also see. Hence, there is no excellence in something that is also common to the shayateen and the disbelievers. Once you have realized that none of the aforementioned motives are from the aims and goals of suluk, you should cast them out of your heart and mind. Miracles, seeing things, ecstasy, spiritual experiences, right? All of these other types of supernatural feats, take that out of your mind. This is not the purpose. Allah is the purpose. The actual aim and goal of suluk is to achieve the pleasure of Allah. Highlight that sentence. The actual aim and goal of suluk is to achieve the pleasure of Allah. The method of achieving this is by obeying the commands of Allah and having constancy in dhikr. This is what the Shaykh prescribes and what the murid practices, even if the spiritual, metaphysical states are not attained. So if you're making zikr, you're performing tahajjud, and you don't feel anything. Somebody told Haji Imdadullah Muhajir Makki rahmatullah alayh, he said, Hazrat, he says, I am making dhikr of Allah, but maza nahi aa raha hai. Maza nahi hai. He said, Are zalim, itni badi zaat ki naam le rahe ho. He said, Ye kam ni'mat hai. You're taking the name of such a great, supreme Allah. Isn't this the greatest bounty that Allah is giving you? That you are taking the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is greater than this? Even if excellence and perfection are not acquired, the benefits of zikr and obedience to the commands of Allah will become manifest in the form of Allah's pleasure in paradise, the vision of Allah, and salvation from hellfire. This is the reality behind the concept of Shaykh and Murid. The Shaykh pledges to show the method of dhikr and the ways of fulfilling the commands of Allah Ta'ala, while the Murid pledges to act according to the directions of the Shaykh. Although it is possible to achieve this objective without specifically resorting to the method of bay'ah that has become common, the unique advantage of this path of making bay'ah is increased attention that the Shaykh provides to the murid. Furthermore, the murid is more conscious of being obedient to the Shaykh. This is talking about bay'ah. What is bay'ah? Bay'ah is putting the hand in the hand of a Shaykh and then saying that I promise that I make tawbah from kufr, from shirk, from bidat, from all major and minor sins, and I promise that I fulfill all the commandments of the Sharia and I will stay away from the sins, and so on and so forth. And putting your hand in the hand of a Shaykh is not required. If just like a person, how many people know when you go to the doctor, you make an agreement? How many people have done that? You go to a doctor and they have a paper, you sign off. This is an agreement. This is a contract. Similarly, the bay'ah is not something which is out of the norm. It is an agreement that is made with the Shaykh that you will comply and you will do as you are told, and the Shaykh complies that he will give you guidance. And this can be done without it as well. You can tread this path without bay'ah and without formally taking the path as is mentioned here. But the benefit of it is that the Shaykh, his attention will be more and the commitment will be more from both sides. The murid is advised to regard his Shaykh as foremost amongst all the saintly men of his time. A very important point. When you're going to connect yourself to somebody, let's say you're going to say, I have a spiritual advisor. He is my Shaykh. You should consider him to be most qualified. Like, why do you go to a doctor? You go to the doctor because you consider that person to be qualified. And he's the most qualified in my locality, and that is why I'm going to this person. Similarly, when you go to your Shaykh, you should go with this opinion that this is the person who is the best for me. This doctor, this spiritual guide, this is the one who is best for me. That is why I go to this person. The wisdom of this advice is to ensure that the relationship between Shaykh and murid is strengthened. Why you should go to the person that you like and you consider him to be qualified? Because why you will benefit from somebody that you consider unqualified. When you're connected to somebody that you don't consider to be qualified, you have no trust in him, you're not going to benefit from him. So that's why the person you're connected with, you should consider him to be the best. Why? So that you'll be able to benefit from him. The tradition of the murid placing his hands in the hand of the Shaykh at the time of bay'ah is a benefit. It's a beneficial custom of the awliya. Like we mentioned, it's not necessary. If the murid is a woman, then the cloth is held in place of the hand. The woman, in the company of others, sits behind a partition. The Shaykh holds one end of the cloth and then passes it on to the other side of the partition where the woman holds the other end. This custom is present to strengthen the bay'ah. And this is what the companions and the Sahaba did in the company of the Prophet ﷺ. If somebody asks, where is this bay'ah thing from? This comes from the method that's adopted by the Prophet ﷺ, as is mentioned in the hadith of Sahih Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba, they said, will you not make bay'ah to me? Will you not make a promise to me? They said, Ya Rasulullah, we already made the bay'ah to you. Then the Prophet said again, will you not make bay'ah to me? The Sahaba said again, Ya Rasulullah, we already made bay'ah to you. The third time the Prophet ﷺ said, will you not make bay'ah to me? Then the Sahaba said, then they said, we realized that the Prophet is trying to take a promise from us, a covenant, a promise of something that he wants us to do. Then we put our hands in the hand of the Prophet, and the Prophet made us take a promise. That we promise that we believe in Allah and we will not ascribe partners to him, and that we perform our salat and give the zakat, and that we will not ask anything from anyone. Now, one point to understand about this bay'ah. We realize that were these Sahaba Muslim already or no? Yes, they were. So they had already made the bay'at of Islam. There's 3 bay'ats in the time of the Prophet. Bay'atul Islam, Bay'atul Jihad, Bay'atul Islahul A'mal. So we know that this bay'ah that the Sahaba made, was it Bay'atul Islam? No, because they're already Muslim. Was it Bay'atul Jihad? No. They're not asked to go out in the path of Allah. There was a third bay'at. What bay'ah was this? Bay'atul Islahil A'mal. This was Bay'atul Islah. And this hadith is mentioned in Muslim Sharif. that they were making bay'ah to rectify certain action. And what was that? The Prophet ﷺ was making bay'ah to them to increase their tawakkul in Allah, to such an extent that if one of them, their staff or their whip would fall down from the horse, they would not ask the person who was walking on the ground, can you give me my whip? He would come off of his horse, he would pick it up from the ground, and he would come back and sit on the horse. To that extent, they would not ask anyone anything. To this extent, the Prophet was teaching them tawakkul, to only ask from Allah and to ask from nobody but Allah. This was bay'atu islahil a'mal. So this is the practice of the mashayikh. And this was the custom that was left from the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And you can tread this path without the bay'ah as well. The bay'ah is also possible without the tradition of the murid placing his hand in the hand of the shaykh. Therefore, one who lives far from the shaykh is still able to become a murid without this custom. This can be done through writing a letter. There are also hadiths that affirm the virtues of the practice of placing the hand in the hand of the shaykh. According to the hadith, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ adopted the practice of taking the hand of men in his auspicious hand when he would take bay'at from them. The practice of holding a cloth is representative of holding the hand, and we will stop there. May Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah. We'll continue inshallah with this.